Hi guys, today we are going to be playing with a new palette from Game Beauty. If you are unfamiliar with this brand, they did send me their first palette, which came out, I want to say it was late December. I think I filmed with mine in December. It might have been like early January, but basically these are a game-inspired brand, but they obviously don't take inspiration from like actual games because of copyright reasons, but like their theming is like game related, and I think that that is so cool. I also just want to quickly shout out their Instagram because they are so interactive on there and they do such a good job just like being on brand. Like definitely go check them out. Their stories are great. I will link them down below in my description box. So let me show you the first palette that they came out with if you haven't already seen this brand, but this is the first palette that they did. This is called the Adventure, wait, no, it is called the Adventure palette. Almost said the Fantasy palette, which is the new one. But they basically open like this, which is sort of like the Kaleidos palettes. Their packaging is absolutely beautiful. This color story is super, super fun. I do have a video with this. I will link that in the corner if you want to check it out. This palette does have a pressed glitter, which is one of the reasons why this didn't become like a favorite of mine, but their newest palette, I think that they've decided not to put glitters in their palettes, which makes my heart so happy because I just don't like glitters. But let me show you the new palette. So this is called the Fantasy palette, and I love the packaging on both of these. I think they do such a good job at just, again, like I said, being on brand. Like you can really tell that this is like basically taken straight out of a game. I mean, duh. But I think they do such a good job with the packaging and just like the overall aesthetic of their brand. And I think that the color story of this palette is super unique. Like it really makes me think like, what can I do with this? And I really like that kind of a challenge. I think that it might be a little bit hard to, maybe not hard, but it's definitely not a color story that I've seen before. And that is something that I really appreciate. And I think that is really cool that they aren't scared to step outside of the box because these are not safe palettes by any means. So I'm excited to test these out. I will say when I swatched this palette that the formula seemed a little bit just kind of soft and sheer and they needed a little bit of building up, and we'll just see how they perform on the eyes. I mean, I didn't have any problems with the first palette, so we're just gonna try them out and kind of see what happens. So I'm gonna start by priming. I don't think I need to blabber in the intro any longer. I have already seen some of my friends make videos with this. I feel like I'm so late with this palette. Like I've had this for like 4 days now or something, and already like everybody's already made videos, so just goes to show that on YouTube you gotta be quick, but clearly I'm not very quick today, but that's okay. Hopefully you guys still want to watch. So I'm just obviously using my Natasha Denona eyeshadow base as usual because that is what I always use. So what are we doing today? I feel like every thumbnail that I've seen, everybody has been using the blues. So I was kind of thinking maybe I will do something a little bit different today just so we can test out some shades that maybe haven't been tested out that much. So maybe I will do like the pink in the crease together with this purple, and then we can do, I'm thinking I want to use this shade here as a bit of a layering shade so I can layer this on top of like maybe this. Wow, this matches my nail perfectly. Like literally the perfect color. Look at that. That was not planned at all. That's pretty cool though. So I think I'm gonna start with this one swatched very sheerly. Like it did not swatch very strongly at all. So I'm gonna start with this one just to give it its best chance. This is a very interesting tone of purple. It's like a grayish purple. It's very, very cool tone. So I'm gonna start with that in the outer corner of my eye, and we're gonna see just how intense I'm able to get this. So it was so funny when they reached out to me. Well, that's not what I meant to say. It was so funny. I got an email from them saying that a new palette had shipped, and so I messaged them on Instagram because they hadn't asked me if they could send me a palette. I messaged them and I was like, what did you send me? And they're like, oh, we sent you the new palette. We hope you like it, but if you don't, it's okay. I was laughing so hard because they clearly know me very well. It's really nice when brands, you know, can joke around and stuff. I do really appreciate that. So this is looking a little bit better on the eyes than it did in the swatch, that is for sure. It's definitely showing up a lot better on top of a primer, which I mean, I'm not really surprised by because that is kind of what primers are supposed to do. So I'm just gonna kind of put this in the outer corner of my eye. I don't think I want this all the way through my crease. I think I want this to be more of a softer look for what I normally do here. So I'm gonna focus this mostly in the outer corner. Gonna take it up in my crease a little bit here and just gonna place this down. I can tell already that this probably wouldn't be the most buildable shade because I am seeing just like a tiny bit of patchiness here, which it's not really that noticeable probably for you guys, but when I'm looking up very close, I can definitely see it's not the most opaque color, but I can definitely work with it and I don't think it's going to cause me too many problems. I'm gonna take a little bit of this just on the outer portion of my lower lash line as well, just to kind of connect it to the outer corner. So I think this is looking quite nice. I'm not having any like problems. It's just taking a little bit of time to get the intensity that I want here. So I'm next gonna go in with this beautiful, very pastel-y pink shade, which is called Dreamland. And this one swatched very good, so I have pretty high expectations for this. I'm basically just going to take that in the rest of my crease. Just gonna start by packing it on like I always do here, just to make sure I get as much of this on my eye as I am able to before I start doing any kind of blending. So again, it's looking quite nice on the eyes, but it is more of a sheer formula and it does need quite a bit of building up to really be like nice and intense here. It does seem to build quite nicely though. Again, it's just taking a little bit of time. So I'm gonna take this all the way around the edges of my eye here so I can blend this into the outer corner shade and also take it underneath my eye. And I'm gonna go back in with that darker shade after and kind of see how that layers over the top of this shade, if I'm able to get like a nice blend between the two here. I'm also, like I said, just gonna take this all the way around my eye and just kind of blend out that first shade that we put down. I feel like Game Beauty is one of those brands that even though their formulas so far haven't been like my favorites, it's a brand that I'm really rooting for because I really love what they're doing and I want them to succeed so badly. So I'm like over here on the sidelines just rooting for them because I think that they can really do good things. I do think that their formula maybe needs a little bit of work, but it could also just be personal preference. And you know, a lot of people might like, you know, softer palettes and softer formulas that don't show up like super crazy pigmented. But obviously here on my channel, that is what I basically do. So I have to review this for, you know, what I like in my palette. But I also do understand that not everybody is looking for the same things that I'm looking for in my eyeshadows. But I mean, this is looking quite nice. It's not, like I said, the most intense. I'm going to go back in with that first shade that I used and just make sure that I bring back the depth that I did have here because I lost a little bit of it when I went in with that light pink. So I think this is where I'm going to leave it. I mean, this is kind of cute, right? I kind of like it. So do I want to put down some concealer on my lid before I go in with the peach shade? Because I do want to layer that other shade over the top. So maybe since I am going to layer the other shade, I don't really need to use any kind of concealer. So I'm just going to kind of pop this all over my lid. So this is the shade here called Faith. And this is just going to act as a bit of a base for that white shimmer. So I'm not going to do anything fancy. I'm not going to worry about this being, you know, a little bit patchy maybe. I'm just going to kind of put this on my lid as the color that is going to be underneath the layering shade here. But this is looking quite nice actually on the lid, despite me not having like a super tacky base underneath. I definitely think that this color would show up super nicely and be nice and opaque if you did go in and do a cut crease or something like that, or just kind of put down something underneath for this to really stick to, because I obviously had like some shadow on here already from my crease shades that kind of fell on my lid, so my primer in this area wasn't super tacky. I'm gonna take a little bit more, I think, of that dark shade as well and just make sure that I have shadow all over my lid here before I go in with that shimmer. Just gonna take the other side of my brush here, just kind of pop this on the outer corner and mesh these two colors together. So let me first go in with some of my NYX glitter primer and just make sure that that shimmer has something to grip onto. And then with the same brush, I'm gonna go into the shade here called Celestial, which is this beautiful iridescent white. It's basically just a white. Does it have a little bit of blue in it? Maybe it does. We'll find out when I put it on the eyes, but when I swatched it, it definitely just seemed like a white sort of taupery shade. Just gonna kind of put this all over my lid here where I put down that coral shade, and we'll see what happens. Okay, so I'm not really seeing too much of that coral. This one is more, actually, that looks quite nice. Like, this is very nice and wet looking. It's definitely a topper shade. It does maybe have a little bit of blue in it, which I did not realize. That's quite pretty. I actually really like that. I like that they put a shade like this into this palette because it makes it quite versatile in the way that you can use it. So you can see I am definitely covering up like a lot of that shade that I had underneath, but I really felt like I needed to have some kind of a color under this because it is quite a sheer formula, so otherwise it would just kind of look like I didn't have anything on my lid and then like you would see the crease shades through it, which would look kind of weird. But I think this looks quite nice layered over that shade. So I think this is where I'm going to leave it with this look. I'm gonna go ahead and finish off and see what I can do. And if you want to see some other videos of people using the blues and stuff, I will link the videos that I've seen my friends do in my description box, so you can go check out more of them. I can't promise that I will do more looks with this palette, at least right now, because I've other things that have come in that kind of needs to take priority right now. So I'm gonna work on those first because I've already promised videos with them, and then we'll see if by the time I'm done with those, I have time to go back to this one. But as of right now, I will give you like my first impression thoughts, at least like when I'm done with my look. Alright, so this is the look all done, and I decided to just be very soft about it today, and I didn't do like a ton of mascara. I just went pretty lightly compared to what I normally do. I put a little bit of blue in my waterline because I felt like it would kind of go with like the aesthetic of the palette and like the color story, and I don't know, it just kind of made sense in my head. So pretty sure this is Prance from Colourpop. Yeah, love this. Don't know if it's available, probably not. For my lips, I wanted to do something pink, so I'm using Flat Out Fabulous from MAC. It's one of my favorite lipsticks in my collection. I love this color. Did I overline maybe a little bit too much? Maybe a little bit. It got a little bit out of hand, but let's not talk about that. Let's see, what else did I do? I did some blush, and for blush today, I'm using one from Lancome that I did get sent in PR through Octoly. This is in the shade Blush For You. I will show you if I'm able to open it. So again, super pink blush. I wanted everything to be like very pink and monochromatic. And then for my highlighter, of course, I'm using another one from Bitter Lace Beauty because I cannot get enough of these. The one I'm using today is in the shade Luster. I feel like I used that in yesterday's video too, or the one that I filmed yesterday anyway. Pretty sure, but this is basically going to be the completed look, and I do think it turned out very, very cute. It's very soft for what I normally go for, but I quite like it still. So as for this palette, like I was saying kind of when I was using it, I feel like the formula is not my favorite just because I prefer something that's a little bit more, just a little bit more. I just want a little bit more out of it. It's a little bit too soft and a little bit too sheer for my liking, and some of these shimmers in here are kind of satiny. Like this blue is very much a satin. Let's see, what else do we have? This one seemed pretty nice and intense when I swatched it. This one looked beautiful as well, but also kind of sheer, but I do feel like on top of a glitter primer, this one is going to really pop. This one reminds me a little bit of the green one in the other palette. Yeah, I think that's going to look really, really nice over some kind of a glitter primer. Definitely would use that, but it just didn't really go with the look that I had going on today. But I would say that if you like something that's a little bit more toned down than, you know, what I normally go for, and you don't mind building up your shadows quite a bit, you would probably really like this palette. For me, it's a little bit too, like I was saying, I feel like I need to work a little extra to get like as much out of it as what I usually like in my shadows, and still they're just not like as vibrant and intense as I would like for them to be. They're not bad, they're just not as in your face as what I like to be. That's basically going to be it. So by no means do I not like this palette, it's just not my preference when it comes to formulas, but that's totally fine. We're all different, and if what I'm saying here sounds like something that you would like, you would probably really like this palette. But for me, it's a little too not enough. But I do really appreciate them sending me the palettes, and I have so much fun playing with them. And honestly, even if I wasn't on their PR list, and even if I know for myself that this isn't my favorite formula, I would probably buy their next palette anyway, because like I was saying, I am really rooting for this brand. I'm like on the sidelines being like, you can do it, you can do it, you know what I mean? So I want to keep like testing out these palettes and see if they keep improving over time, because I feel like they're pretty good at like listening to feedback. Not that my feedback is obviously what matters, but if a lot of people have the same feedback that I do, maybe, you know, things might change, but you never know. So that's gonna be it for today's video. Let me know if you tried Game Beauty, if you tried their newest palette, or if you picked up this palette. I would love to hear your thoughts about the brand, because I would love to hear just other opinions, and I'm gonna go watch my friends' videos now and see what they think about it, because I'm curious to see if, you know, we're on the same wavelength there, because, you know, we're not always, and that's the beauty of makeup. So that's gonna be it for today. Like I said, thank you so much for watching as always. If you want to see my other Game Beauty video, I will put that right here. And if you're new to my channel, don't forget to subscribe, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.